Hey there, Washington Commanders fan. Today we're diving into a topic that'll get you pumped for the upcoming game against the New York Giants. We know the Giants' humiliating defeat in Week 1 against the Vikings left them vulnerable, and that's exactly the opening the Commanders need to take advantage of. Now, what few people are talking about is that we have 3 lesser-known players who could be crucial for this victory. And don't forget, in today's last bit of news, we'll talk about another player who might join the Commanders in Week 3. Now, before we dive into the details, let me ask you something. Have you subscribed to the channel yet? If you haven't, click that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. It really helps us keep bringing you exclusive Commanders content, and of course you don't want to miss anything, especially if this video is showing you details no one else is talking about. So subscribe now, and let's get to it. The first name I want to highlight is John Bates. I know many will turn up their noses when I talk about a backup tight end, but hold on. This guy is more than meets the eye. He could be the piece that makes the difference in the trenches, both in quarterback protection and running plays. Bates has an uncommon blocking ability, and this quality could be crucial in slowing down the Giants' edge rushers, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. These two didn't make much noise in Week 1, but against our offensive line, which is still adjusting, they might have more room to attack. If Bates can seal the edge and give that extra support to tackles Cornelius Lucas and Andrew Wiley, it'll make life much easier for our offense. The presence of Burns and Thibodeau can't be underestimated, and any slip in protection could be disastrous for Jaden Daniels, our rookie quarterback. So, Bates needs to be sharp and contribute both in blocking and supporting running plays. The truth is, if he can handle it, the Commanders have everything it takes to dominate the trenches, and then the game changes completely. Now, speaking of protection, we can't forget Tyler Badash. This is the guy we got with a $30 million contract in free agency, and he has a specific mission in this game: to keep Dexter Lawrence II, the Giants' all-pro nose tackle, under control. Lawrence has been a terror for the Commanders in recent years, and everyone knows it. But Badash has an athletic and aggressive style that might finally deal with this constant threat. However, for this to happen, he's going to need help, and this is where things get interesting. Guards Nick Allegretti and Sam Cosmi need to be ready to double-team Lawrence on every play. The more double teams we put on him, the better our chances of neutralizing the Giants' defense's strongest point. Now, imagine this: Badash and Bates working together to hold off Lawrence and the Giants' edge rushers at the same time. If we can do this, the path will open up for both passing and running plays. This kind of synergy is what can transform our offensive line's performance and give Jaden Daniels that precious time to find his receivers. And speaking of receivers, there's one more name flying under the radar that could be essential on Sunday: Sainristil. He didn't have an easy debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but hold on, we need to give credit to the work he did during training camp and in college. Sainristil is a versatile player who can act as both an outside cornerback and in the slot, and it's in this last position that he'll need to shine against the Giants. Why? Because Wan'Dale Robinson, Daniel Jones' favorite wide receiver, is a real threat. Robinson was Jones's most targeted player in Week 1, with 12 targets, and most of these plays came from the slot. If Sainristil can limit the space and be physical enough to keep up with Robinson, the Giants' chances of moving the ball through the middle of the field drastically decrease. I know Robinson is agile and slippery, but Sainristil has experience dealing with receivers of this style since his time at Michigan. If he can impose his physical game and anticipate routes, it'll be a big step towards a decisive Commanders victory. Now, folks, we're talking about 3 guys who, at first glance, aren't the team's stars, but who could be the unsung heroes of this game. John Bates holding off the edge rushers, Tyler Badash battling against Dexter Lawrence, and Sainristil shutting down the Giants' main passing target. Seems like everything's under control, right? But, as always in football, things can change in the blink of an eye, and that's why this game will be so interesting to watch. While we wait for this answer, it's interesting to reflect on the impact these underestimated players can have, not just in the next game, but throughout the season. Every victory in the NFL is built not only by the players who grace magazine covers, but also by those who do the dirty work in the trenches, in double teams, and in the fundamental blocks that often go unnoticed. Now, let's talk again about the offensive line, which has been one of the main concerns for fans in recent seasons. The addition of Badash and his performance alongside Allegretti and Cosmi is something we should watch closely, especially considering the Commanders' history of giving up sacks. It's no use having a talented quarterback like Daniels if he doesn't have time to read the defense or execute plays. Now, we've got some red-hot news about our beloved Washington Commanders, and I bet you won't want to miss a single detail. It's about week 3, that crucial phase of the season where everything can change, and you know what's at stake? Heavy-duty reinforcements that could transform our team and take the Commanders to the next level. Yes, friends. Today we're talking about the free agents that management needs to keep on their radar. This is no joke. These guys can make a difference in the trenches, where the game really happens. So, go ahead and leave your like and subscribe to the channel, because I'm sure you'll want to stay on top of every strategic move the Commanders make. Now, since you're here, let me ask you right off the bat, who here didn't have a bitter taste in their mouth after that loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1? It was 37-20, a painful score, and what became most evident was the lack of power in the trenches, both on offense and defense. But hold on, this isn't news for us to dwell on the past. Let's talk about solutions, because the Commanders have some names in mind that could help fix these flaws. And that's exactly what we're going to address now. The first name that folks need to keep an eye on is Donovan Smith. For those who don't know, Smith is a tackle with a solid track record in the NFL, with impressive stints protecting quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. And what does that mean? The guy knows what he's doing. If the Commanders want to improve protection for Jaden Daniels in the pocket, Smith would be a heavyweight addition. We know Jaden likes to move around, escape the pocket, and use his legs, but that strategy only works to a certain point. To have a more consistent offense, Daniels needs solid protection, and that's where Smith comes into play. The big advantage with Smith is that he can play on both the left and right side of the offensive line. And that, my friends, is pure gold for any NFL team. We know that Andrew Wiley, our current starter on the right side, has been underperforming. In the last game against Tampa Bay, he was pressured the whole time, which put Daniels in a tough spot. Now just imagine, if we had Smith there holding down the fort, things would completely change. Not to mention that Cornelius Lucas, who's on the left side, has also been struggling. Smith would be an immediate improvement on either side. And you might be wondering, but what about Cornelius Lucas? Can't we trust him on the left side? Well, folks, Lucas did have a decent performance in Week 1, but he gave up a sack, and let's face it, it wasn't a brilliant performance. The Commanders' management needs to think big and act fast, because if we continue with these holes in the offensive line, it's going to be hard to win the battle in the trenches. And look, in the NFL, winning the line of scrimmage is half the battle to winning the game. Let's hope they make this decision soon. Another important detail is the performance of our rookie, Brandon Coleman. He was a third-round pick and has already shown some flashes of talent that could make a difference. However, can we already trust him as an absolute starter? This is the big dilemma that the coaching staff will face. We need stability on the offensive line, and time is running against us. Maybe it's time to bet on Smith's experience and let Coleman mature a bit more. Now, speaking of reinforcements, we can't forget that the defense also needs help. The pressure on the opposing quarterback wasn't what we expected in Week 1. Yes, the Commanders' defense has talent, but it still lacks that constant aggressiveness in the defensive trenches. And, once again, this is where the free agent market can help us. There are some names available that could strengthen this sector, but the absolute priority has to be the offensive line. Because, friends, without good protection, there's no way the offense can function. It doesn't matter if you have a talented quarterback like Daniels if he doesn't have time to throw the ball. So, folks, what do you think? Will the Commanders take this bold step and bring in Donovan Smith? I believe this decision could be the turning point for the rest of the season. We're only in Week 3, and there's still time to adjust the pieces and transform this team into a true contender. Now, leave a comment below on what you would do if you were Ron Rivera. Would you bring in Smith to reinforce the line or trust in the development of younger players? I want to know your opinion. But before wrapping up, I'll leave a question hanging. Does the Commanders' fate this season depend exclusively on a heavyweight signing like Donovan Smith? Or are there other pieces on the board that still need to fall into place? Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the news about our beloved franchise. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back here next week to celebrate a victory with a revamped team full of energy.